courses, different topics that we are going to cover as part of this training. We will start with introduction to Teradata, that is overview of Teradata, how Teradata evolved over the years starting from 1979, and what are the different Teradata versions, and how we can use Teradata as a software, as a system, as an application within the data warehouse and BI space. Data users and scalability. Teradata system is supported by multiple users and it is scalable. And we also look at Teradata as an enterprise. It's not only a specific to a business need, it is we are focusing on the entire organization part, that is as an enterprise application. As you know, as most of you know, Teradata comes as a distributed, means it will come as a bundle and with list of features that can be used by the enterprise application as per the requirement of the organization. Module 2 talks about architecture and the components of Teradata. As I said earlier, MPP architecture, SMP architecture. MPP means it's a distributed and parallelism architecture, and we will also look at the different components and modules like AMP, TDP, CLI, TPA. Module 3 talks about data recovery and security. Data recovery in the sense what kind of different scenarios or features or functionalities available whenever any disaster happens. How I can still use or refer my data whenever anything goes wrong. And security allows only authenticated or authorized users to access the data or access the objects or can log into the system. And there is also on top of that, there is industry level data recovery option is supported by Teradata. RAID, as you know, RAID is one of the data recovery and production. So Teradata supports RAID 1 and RAID 5 data recovery techniques. And also we are looking at some of the transaction related data recovery. What happens whenever any transaction fails, how the rollback happens, and how the commit will happen. If something goes wrong, what happens internally with the transaction. At the system level also we are going to deep dive what exactly happens and what is the technique that Teradata follows. At physical level, we will be looking at components like disk arrays, clicks, and AMP clustering. These are related to physical storage and data recovery methods. Module 4, it's Teradata indexes. So in the previous module, we looked at how physically data is stored on the array disks. Okay. Coming to this data indexes, indexes are nothing but how you logically store your data. So there is a difference between a primary key in common data warehousing terminology and primary index in Teradata terminology. The major difference is primary key is associated with how you restrict the data in a particular table, where as Teradata index relates to how you logically refer data which is stored on a physical location. If you refer to index, it gives direct access path to the physical storage of that row. So there are different kind of indexes: unique key, primary index, non-unique key, and second index. And partition is somewhat different than the indexes. Those are basically for fast retrieval and access mechanism which improves the performance. There are also some other indexes which are logically built, like hash join and value ordered indexes. And we are also going to deep dive into second index subtable and skewness and keys versus indexes. Next is Teradata SQL reference. So SQL, we are going to cover SQL fundamentals, data definition language, data types and literals, and data manipulation language. So like any other RDBMS, Teradata has its own DDL and DML statements. Apart from that, it also provides some extensions to the ANSI compliant. Even though Teradata is compliant with ANSI, it has some extension to ANSI. Means it has written or extended uh, version of the SQLs. We are also going to cover those components. And also we are going to look at different data types and literals that are supported by Teradata system. Next one is module 6, Teradata functions and operators. So functions and operators, these are mainly deals with the data. What is the qualification that we are going to pass in a query to, in order to retrieve or perform a business logic, or you want to get output as required. So as part of that, you will apply some functions so that you can get the required data, and at the same time you will do some operations uh, like maybe concatenation operation, or maybe some type of conversion and casting of the data, and some kind of qualification of the data. So there are different functions like format functions, which you can convert from one format, that is one data type, to maybe other data type. And string functions, you can do or play around the strings. You can uh, like extract any part of the string, or you can parse the string. Cast function, basically you can also play around with uh, the strings and any other kind of data types or columns within a table. And also we are going to look at some of the features like with and with by clauses, group and aggregate functions. Module 7 talks about Teradata transaction. There are different type of transactions like explicit transaction, implicit transactions, and so these are basically how you want to control the transaction, and then you can go for explicit transaction. If you want Teradata by default to control the transaction, rollbacking and committing the data, then you can go with implicit transaction. So apart from that, at the transaction level, if you want to improve the performance, if any query is running very bad, you can take a look at the explain plan and then see whether you can collect the statistics. These are collecting the statistics will result in some input to the optimizer, which is an engine, Teradata system engine, which is a heart of Teradata we used to call. It's optimizer. Performance tuning and explain utility. So whenever you see some bad performance, or whenever any queries are running for longer time, definitely like if it is already occupied 100% utilization of the resources in the system, it's not good idea to expand the system, because it puts some additional burden on the organization, where you have to purchase some new software. Then uh, it's a completely different thing. Instead of that, you have to look forward how effectively you can optimize the system by reducing the resource consumption. So that we are going to cover it as part of the performance training and explainability. Explainability basically gives an opportunity to find out what exactly happening with your query. It gives an output in the English grammar, which tells what are the different steps that your SQL going to perform. So we can point out some of the traits, and we can do some improvements from the explain plan based on some recommendations from Teradata and industry. Tuning SQL performance, but also comes as part of the explain utility recommendations and practices from Teradata. Usage of performance monitor. Its P1 is nothing but a performance monitor. You can monitor your system and see what is the utilization of the CPU and other resources. What are the refresh session? You can do some kind of system monitor. We are also having a latest tool from Teradata that is a viewpoint. I'm also going to talk about that viewpoint monitor tool. Joins and unions. So most of the time there is a joint strategy called in Teradata. There are some set of recommendations how we should join the tables in a transaction and SQL. So this joins and unions tells what is a joint strategy, and strategy followed by the SQL. Just by looking at the expand utility, we can do some recommendation on the joins and unions. Inner joins are right outer join, left outer join, and full outer join, product join. So those are all part of join strategies. And there are also some other join strategies like merge join, nested join, and hash join. We are also going to cover all this topic as part of the module 7, that is Teradata transactions. Module 8, Teradata basic commands. As I said, Teradata does follow ANSI compliance. Apart from that, it has its own extension to the ANSI. Means it has extended some of the functionalities which are not supported or not available by ANSI. So we are also going to cover those commands like show, help, collect statistics, and else explain. These commands you won't see in ANSI standards or any other databases. It is specific to Teradata. Module 9 talks about Teradata objects. So this includes Teradata tables and what kind of characteristics that we can follow while defining a table. Whether we want to allow duplicate rows in a table, or we want to strictly report an error when any duplicate rows comes. Also, we are going to look at different kind of tables: permanent table, global temporary table, volatile table, and also we are going to look at the semantic layer, that is views, how we can create views, and how we can apply logs through views, and also we can do some protection of the data at view level. Derived tables, any other database does support this derived table concept. We are also look at derived tables in Teradata as well. And also some other objects like macros, triggers, and stored. These deal with some kind of programming and understanding. Like stored procedure, you have to, if you have anything to do with some kind of complex operation which cannot be achieved through SQLs, you have to write a stored procedure. We are also going to deep dive into macros, triggers, and stored procedures. Next module is Teradata SQL Assistant, QUERYMAN. This module talks about how you are going to interact with the Teradata server. Now there is a server which is reset so long, so far maybe in different region, you have to access that. So there are different kind of client tools where you have to install on your desktop, then you can access. So client tools are available for both Windows and Linux systems. So Teradata BTEC, it is available on both Linux and Windows system. For Linux system, most of the time we are going to use Teradata BTEC. Data performance monitor, it's a Windows GUI tool, and branching and looping, bash script and samples, how we are going to use branching and looping while writing a scripts, and bash scripts and samples, how we can write some bash script, how we can schedule them using a Unix cron tab, and importing exporting data through scripts. So importing and exporting comes under utilities that may be like getting the data out of Teradata or to a file, or loading a file into a Teradata system. That is called importing and exporting. Then we cannot directly do it through SQL. There are specific tools defined for this usage. We are also going to cover these utilities. Error handling, how we can handle in case of any error happens. If you have an automated script, okay, and if any failure happens, how you can handle that. We are also going to talk troubleshooting and error handling. And also, as I said, there are some tools for importing and exporting data through scripts. Those are called Teradata Fast Load is one of the tools to load the data. And we are also going to look at advantage and process sample script limitations of these tools. The last module in this training is real-time issues. We are also focusing on the real-time issues that most of the organizations will face them, and what could be the resolution and what could be the action point in case of any such failures or issues happens. That includes we are covering our utilities and some of the limitations, and how while loading into Teradata system can we interact in between and do some kind of conversion before actually data available in the Teradata system. That also we are going to cover. That comes as part of the out modes. So these are some of the topics that we are going to as part of the real-time issues. And also I'm also going to bring up some of the other issues related to some other concept that we are going to discuss as part of this training, that may be related to SQL or maybe automation or maybe any advanced feature and functionalities. So at the end of this training, you will be able to settle as an application Teradata database administrator. As I said, there are three types of administration functionalities within Teradata: system, security, and application. So this is going to cover only application part. System part basically deals with the actual system components and tuning the system. So application, it may come as an enterprise or as part of a data or as part of a specific application. Security deals with like accessing, granting the access to the system and maintaining the privileges on database objects only to the required users. So that's all from my end. Do you have any questions? Let me know.
Hello.
Yes.
Yeah, session is completed.
Yes.
Okay.